I'm going to read some of the questions that came into our social media and my texts about the procedure itself. Where are the transplanted hair follicles taken from? Okay, so the hair is taken from what's called a donor area. Most men and women lose hair in a different pattern. Most men very rarely lose hair at the back, in the sides, and from here. So when we pre-plan a procedure, we can really never tell somebody with a great deal of assurance the exact number of follicles that will take. So when you go to the famous Dr. A or famous Dr. B, and they'll tell you they'll take 2,000 follicles or 1,500 follicles, they're just basically bullshitting you. So the only way we can visualize and tell you exactly what we will take is during the procedure. We can estimate, we can give you an approximate number, because what we need to do is when the head is shaven, we need to see the density of the hair follicles, meaning how closely grouped are these follicles back together before we can take them out. Because if you have two follicles that are far spaced apart, you're definitely not going to ask me to take one and make it really nice and thin at the back so that I can put one in the front that is not going to make any difference. So to summarize, we take the hair from the back or from the sides in the most dense areas, and we take some follicles from there, and then we place them into an area there is very little follicles or there are no follicles at all. Then the question that follows up is that, do you lose hair at that location? Well, once you remove the hair, much like when you remove a tree from this part of the forest and you put it here, there's not going to be any tree here. So you lose that particular hair follicle, you don't lose hair per se. And then the next question is that, will the person be able to wear a hat after the procedure? Here's the best answer to the question. If you do this procedure on Thursday, you should be able to go back by Monday comfortably to your work. I am 4 days after the procedure and I have no pain here. I can touch myself. I don't have any bleeding. There's no discharge. And the hair follicle graft has already taken effect. Within next 2 to 3 days, this hair follicle will be completely embedded in my scalp. It is not loose, so I can actually touch my hair right now. So if a person such as a surgeon could put their hat on, if you wanted to wear a very light hat, absolutely, you can wear it without any issues. Does it hurt? Well, you know, if one is born on Mars and doesn't think that going through a procedure doesn't hurt, you know, he's probably out of touch with reality. Is it excruciatingly painful? No. Does it hurt a lot? No. Does it hurt somewhat? Maybe, perhaps. I mean, we all have different pain thresholds, but as I explained in my previous videos, we do absolutely whatever we can within the scope of our training, our knowledge, to provide as pain-free or as painless experience as possible. You do have to understand that you've gone through the procedure. I've gone through the procedure. I'm not taking any pain medications today. No Tylenol, no ibuprofen. I've taken no narcotics, no muscle relaxants. I did take, for the first 2 to 3 days, some ibuprofen and some Tylenol, but that's it. No narcotics whatsoever, no sedatives. Another question is that, do I pick hair follicles from one area to the next? And the answer is 100%. Do I pick where I place them? I do that based on a conversation with you. So for example, if a person is concerned about the receding hairline in the front, that's the most important part of us creating a hairline. And let me take a digression and just explain a very important thing. So hair transplant procedure is one of those things that can be done in stages. Our goal at Dr. Hair of Chicago is to do as much as we possibly can based on an available donor area. In other words, if your donor area is healthy, we'll take whatever we can to, number one, recreate a front hairline. So creation of the hairline and the area where the hair follicles are embedded frames the person's face. So when you look at somebody, you're looking at that person with a perfect outline of what their face should look like. Imagine if somebody says, I only want hair at the back, and we don't leave any hair follicles in the front. Well, you're going to go through a hair transplant, but it's just not going to look good. So our goal is through a symmetry, through a consultation, to draw a perfect hairline that matches your face, that matches your age, that matches your basically desire of what you should look like. But at the end of the day, if you want to put a hair here or there, and by plucking from there, no, I won't do that. I'm not going to do that. I'll give you the best hair transplant you can possibly get. Okay, the last question of the day is, how many units will I need and how much does this cost? This is a very simple question to answer. You know, at Dr. Hair of Chicago, our objective is not to pull the wool over anyone's eyes, nor to make this procedure any more difficult than it is. Put all aside all that medical stuff and importance of us being able to properly do the procedure, which we can assure you we are the experts and we do this. We want to stress of a very simple fact. It is very difficult to estimate the number of follicles that one will have prior to the procedures. Yes, there's a scale called the Norwood scale that can give you a classification system. So from 1 to 7 to 6, there can be some intermediary delineations in between different stages and categories, but it all kind of estimate. For example, I was a classification 3 to 3A. I needed about 1,500 to, and guess what? That was a rough estimate of the procedure, and this is exactly what I got. But it would be unjust and unfair of me to tell any one of my clients that they're going to need exact number of follicles, and for that reason, we do not want to charge you per follicle extracted. We're going to charge you one price, and we will give you the maximum amount of healthy follicles that can be transplanted. We're asking you to trust the process and to believe that our intention is to impress you with our service, impress you with decreased amount of pain, impressive care, and number one and the most important thing, and access to the doctor and access to the nurse, essentially 7 days a week. We are located in downtown Chicago, and what we do is hair transplantation.